All right, here we go. Here we go. Looking like everything's fine on this end, and now I am right side up. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Oy, fun. If you guys can hear me, please say something in the comments. Technical issues as always. I do other streams during the week, mainly Facebook Live and a different interface. So getting used to the new, or at least for me, new YouTube Live interface. Oh, hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully everybody's having a good 4th of July. Like I said earlier, it's over 100 here. So hello to everybody who's watching, friends, family, neighbors of StewieMTG. But like I said earlier, I've got a stack of cards to sort, and I figured it was going to take a little while. I have some decks that are in progress up here, and so I'm going to be sorting these into different decks as well as that are going to be going into boxes. Well, with that, let's go ahead and start sorting. We've got here Abiding Grace. Let's see if that's in frame. I like this, especially in life gain decks. It's going to work great. So the white stack. Mystic Reflection. All of my blue decks are going to be getting Mystic Reflection. Scry, and then especially in my Phoenix mill deck, this is definitely going into it. So putting it up here. We've got Said and Done. Return instant or sorcery from graveyard to hand. Or tap 2 creatures they don't untap during their controller's deck untap step. Goblin Trap Runner. Whenever it attacks, you flip 3 coins. For each coin flip you win, you get a red goblin that's tapped and attacking. I like the idea of goblins and attacking and coin flipping. So I'm going to be building a mono red goblin flip deck, shall we say. A deck in which mainly we're going to be flipping coins, the chaosness of it. It goes there. So also I picked up a bunch of these new artifact lands from Modern Horizons 2. So these are great, especially if you have an artifact theme. The nice part is that they're indestructible. So if you've got someone in your play group that likes to play land destruction, this is a great way of fixing your mana and not having to worry about it getting strip mined or any of the others. We got Mistfault Bridge, Thornlit Bridge, Rustvale Bridge. There's going to be a bunch of these. I picked up as many as I could. Because in essence, they're just a strictly better Guildgate. Because the indestructibility. Now the negative is that they're the artifact type land. So you can use things to get artifacts to get these lands out into play. Now this isn't for your monocolor decks, obviously, but for 2 colors and above. Picked up a Fracture. I noticed myself putting this in more and more decks. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. For 2 mana, not bad at all. Access Tunnel. Target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. Especially if you have a commander that has when this creature deals combat damage. This allows combat damage to go through, and especially I'm noticing commanders that have that smaller power having better combat damage triggers. We got Silver Quill Campus. I picked up some more of the Strixhaven campus lands, mainly for the Scry. Yes, once again, it's a strictly better Guildgate. Both the artifact lands from Modern Horizons and the campus lands from Strixhaven are just strictly better Guildgates. They're going to be replacing Guildgates in all of my decks. We got a Vampire Warlock here and Tenured Ink Caster. Another Fracture. You're going to see a lot of duplication in here. I grabbed a bunch of Introduction to Prophecies. I'm using these in more and more decks. 3 mana to scry 2 and then draw a card. For decks such as white that have a hard time with card draw, or mono red that's having a hard time with card draw, it's a great card to go in there. Gritting Ignis, Red Elemental, another Introduction Prophecy, Lorehold Campus. Field Trip, I'm looking for lands that get forests, not basic forest, but the forest card type. That way I can get some of the new, like the Kaldheim snowlands that have forest type, and the other more traditional shocks. This allows me to get it. We've got Scurrid Colony, squirrels. You guys might have already seen my squirrel deck that I posted. Is going to be going through a metamorphosis as I'm changing the commander from Toski to Chatterfang. And so here's a new squirrel card from Strixhaven that's going to be going in that deck. Quandrix Campus. Letter of Acceptance, I'm putting in more and more decks as well. 3 mana to get 1 mana of any color is kind of the normal. Nowadays, it's the standard. But you can, if needed, if it's later in the game, sack it to get a card. And that's going to be important for us as time goes on, I think. Witherbloom Campus. Environmental Sciences is, basically, shall we say, a way of getting a land into your hand so that you can drop it in my landfall decks, etc. Another Witherbloom Campus, Introduction Prophecy, Campus. I told you I got a lot. Reconstruct History is an interesting card I want to play with. Return 1 artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, planeswalker from graveyard to hand for 4 mana. If you got graveyard synergies, go for it. Needlethorn Drake, 2 mana, 1/1 flying Death Toucher. Great option for protecting your commander or your planeswalkers in a Simic deck. Overgrown Arch is going in a wall deck that I've been building. 2 mana Defender, tap again a life, or you can sack it to learn. Now in Commander, the rules are that this basically instead is, what would that be, rummaging? Discard a card to draw a card. So it's card selection, right? Introduction to Annihilation. This is going in my colorless Eldrazi deck that's been a long time in the works, because colorless doesn't have, only really to my knowledge, has 2 cards that deal with either exiling or destroying targets. So this is going to be a great addition to that. Another Needlethorn Drake, Letter of Acceptance, Campus, Spell Satchel. This is going to be great for my red-blue Spellslinger decks. It's got Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you put a spell counter. You can remove a spell counter to add a colorless mana, or you can spend 3 and remove 3 counters to draw a card. So this is more card draw or mana ramp, depending on what you need at the time. Letter of Acceptance, Overgrown Arch, Quandrix, Campus, another field trip, Introduction and Prophecy. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of redundancy, excuse me, in what I got. We got Witherbloom Pledge Mage, a Golgari Treefolk going in my Treefolk deck. Team Pendant. This is a card in the 2 boxes of Strixhaven I opened. I didn't get a single Team Pendant. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 Vigilance and Trample. If you equip a token, it's only 1 to equip. But if I put this in my Sir Gwyn, if I'm equipping a knight, it's equip 0. Another Fracture, Spell Satchel, couple campuses, Introduction to Prophecy again, Underworld Hermit, once again for the Golgari Squirrel deck. When it enters battlefield, to create 1/1 green squirrel tokens equal to Devotion to Black. So minimum, you're going to be getting 2. Squirrel Sanctuary, Modern Horizons 2. I was looking for as many of the new squirrel cards from Modern Horizons 2 to put in my deck. When it comes into play, create a green 1/1 squirrel token. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you may pay 1, and I can return this to my hand. It's repeatable token creation. Goblin Trap Runner, we already saw that. Artifact Land. As you guys know, I'm a sucker for angels. So a new angel that I didn't have before, Inglorious Enforcer. Timeless Witness. I have several decks that include green as a toolbox color. So Witness is a newer version of Eternal Witness. It's going to be more available, I think. And, 4 mana, 2/1, get a card from your graveyard to your hand. Eternalize might matter to someone, but not really me. Here's Said and Done again. Ravenous Squirrel, a Golgari hybrid 1/1. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact or creature, it gets a counter on it. So it's like it's pushing me towards sack themes in the new Squirrel deck. So we'll see how that goes. Chattering Augur. When it enters battlefield, I draw a card and lose a life. More and more skeletons are coming out again. Might end up doing a skeleton tribal black deck, but we'll see. Another Timeless Witness. We've got Artifact Land. Wave Sifter Elemental. When it comes in the battlefield, investigate twice. 5 mana, 3/2 flyer. Not too terribly bad. Artifact Land. Seal of Cleansing. I had run out of Seal of Cleansings, and I needed some for some of the enchantment and enchantress based land or base decks coming up. So with that, Seal of Cleansing. Chatterstorm, found a foil version of it. 2 mana, create a 1/1 green squirrel token. It's got Storm. Copy it for each spell that was cast before it this turn. Squirrel Storm. Bet you guys never thought that would happen. Foundation Breaker. When it comes to battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So once again, green toolbox decks that are creature based. This is great ETB, such as Tulane or such as my Mimeoplasm deck. Artifact Land Squirrel token. Jawsfire Bridge Squirrel token. Deepwood Denizen, 3 mana, 3/2 Vigilance. 6 mana, tap, draw a card. And then it costs 1 less for each 1/1 counter on creatures you control. So I'm looking at this. It's an Elf Warrior. I have some 1/1 counter synergies in my Elf deck. I'm going to throw this in there and see how it works. Some more Artifact Lands, Squirrel tokens, because, kind of can't have too many of those. We got a Foundry Helix, sack a permanent. It deals 4 damage to any target. If the sacrifice permanent was an artifact, you gain 4 life. This is going in my Boros life gain deck. Artifact land, Vermin Gorger, Vampire, Archfiend of Sorrows. I found some of these sketched Combine Chrysalis. Creature tokens you control have flying is mainly what I'm using it for. Or it's got an ability that has a sack outlet and to create more tokens. So that's an interesting card. Squirrel Sovereign. It's about time Squirrel's got a Squirrel Lord. And we got one in Squirrel Sovereign. 2 mana, other squirrels get +1/+1. 2 mana, 2/2. It's a bear lord for squirrels. Urban Daggertooth. Once again, still continuing to build my Dino-Dana dinosaur deck. And whenever it's dealt damage, proliferate, there is a enrage sub-theme in the deck. So this will allow me to proliferate in the deck as I'm doing those enrage triggers and damage to my creatures. And so looking forward to using that. Crack Open. 3 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment, create a treasure token. So basically, if you have any type of artifact sack synergies, or you just want a 3 mana disenchant or 3 mana naturalize, you know, it'll work. I've needed more and more interaction, especially in my green decks. So this is, to me, a good option. Goblin Archaeomancer, I love it in the old frame. To be honest, I miss the old frames versus, you know, here, this is a foil, but here would be a new frame. I really like the old, quote-unquote, gold frame. 2 mana, 2/2. Each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast. I'm going to be building a Gruul deck soon, so that's going right in it. Filigree Attendant, each equal to the number of artifacts. This is going into Urza. Mystic Redaction, we already looked at that. Sorry, Foundry Helix. A couple more artifact lands. Found this Dray Keeper. Once again, going in the Boros tokens deck. When it comes into play, create 2 squirrel tokens. And there's a activated ability of 3 and a black. Squirrels you control get +1/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. So you can do this multiple times. If you have the mana, you can continue to pump all of your squirrels. Funnel Web Recluse, going in Spider deck. Darkmost Bridge, Angelic Curator. I was looking through my collection, and I think I only have one of these. And I really like the way this one looks. So once again, Foundation Breaker. Thraben Watcher, another angel. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. These are going in my 2 angel decks. Once again, Abiding Grace. Strike It Rich. Create a treasure token with flashback. This is going into Magda. And I saw Ornithopter of Paradise in the preview cards. And I went, oh my goodness, Chris, you need to get a boatload of these. This is going to be going. Hey, Chrissy. Can you hear me at all? I hope you can hear me. Ornithopter of Paradise is going to be going in almost every single one of my decks. It's a 2 mana 0/2 that can tap to add 1 mana of any color. So it's like Ornithopter, 0 for a 0/1 flyer. But now it's a mana rock that's a creature. So if you have decks that care about creatures, you can sacrifice it later for value. Or like it's going into Urza, it's a great ramp option in Urza. And you will be seeing a bunch of these. I'm glad they reprinted Zern Orb. I have an original sitting in my binder somewhere. If you're in a land deck, and for some reason, I've had this a couple of times with Omnath. In fact, Omnath is right here, in which I've needed to gain life. I got low on life, I had plenty of lands in play. I have synergies to get them out of the graveyard. Zern orbs it. Either Sworn Sphinx. I've been working on a Sphinx tribal. And since this is a new Sphinx, and it's got affinity for artifacts, so there's no way I'm paying the 9. I'm probably going to end up paying 4 for this. A lot of Sphinx are either artifact creatures themselves, or you're going to be using artifacts with them, so this is definitely going in its own deck. Jewel-Eyed Cobra, 3 mana, 3/1, Death Toucher. When Jeweled Cobra dies, create a treasure token. This is going in, I have a snake deck. Seal of Cleansing again. Ravaging Visionary. It's a merfolk I wanted to try out. It's like Merfolk Looter, but instead you have to pay for the mana for the ability. But it does have Delirium. So if there's 4 or more card types in your graveyard, instead it's just 3 mana, draw a card. Quirion Ranger reprint. It's a combo enabler. Return a forest you control to its owner's hand and tap target creature. You use this only once each turn. Now, if you're untapping a creature such as, well, any of the elves that tap for more than 3 or 4 mana, you definitely are getting your value. Constable of the Realm, Giant, and that is going in my Giant deck. Way back there. Seal of Cleansing. Rift Sower, another mana dork in elves. Quirion Ranger, Ren's Run Hydra. I'm just another basic Hydra. It's got reach, which is something that my Hydra deck had a major issue with. I got to play a game on Friday and promptly got my face smashed in by a dragon deck, in which I realized that I think there's only one other creature in the deck that has reach. So I found Ren's Run Hydra. That's going in with the other Hydras. Arcbound Whelp. I'm also in the process of building a Dragon Tribal. May or may not go in there. The nice part about it is it's got fire breathing. So it's a 4 mana 2/2. Nice thing is if it dies, you can move those +1/+1 tokens somewhere else. Radiant Epicure, Vampire. Mishra's Factory. It's always nice to have a factory in case you need an artifact land that can turn into a man land. Seal of Removal. Ornithopter of Paradise. You're going to be seeing a lot of those. Disciple of the Sun. Also building a cleric deck. What's nice, yes, it's a 5 mana 3/3, but it's basically got a Sun Titan-esque effect. When it enters, return a permanent card with 3 or less from the graveyard to your hand. Those type of effects can be powerful, and so I wanted to make sure I grabbed it for it. Ornithopter, artifact land. I got Orchard Strider. Once again, Treefolk for the Treefolk deck. Treefolk over here. Picked up, there was some M21 and some other things kind of mixed in. I got Teferi's Tutelage. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. This is going in my Phoenix mill. I got a couple Garruk's Uprising in the alternate frame from M21. Whenever you play a creature 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control trample. And whenever a creature with 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And it's just great green card draw in most of your green stompy decks, such as my upcoming Dino deck, or even Chulanes. A lot of those creatures have more than power 2. Ardenvale Tactician. I already have it in my Knight Sir Gwen deck, but I didn't have it in this frame, so I decided to grab it for that. Tide Shaper, Merfolk, Ornithopter, another Goblin, Archaeomancer, Ornithopters, Squirrel Sovereign, Ornithopters. I told you there's a lot of Ornithopters. Nested Shambler, black 1/1 zombie. When it dies, create X 1/1 green squirrel tokens where X is its power. So buff it up a turn, sack it to, I don't know, an altar of some sort, or any sack outlet, and you've got yourself a bunch of squirrels. You got a basic Chatterstorm. We got the new frame, or what they're calling the sketch frame on the Timeless Witness. Blossoming Calm. White always has an issue card drop. It's, for me, this is a combination of two things. This is a quasi Teferi's protection. You gain hexproof until your next turn. You gain 2 life. The life doesn't really matter, but it's got rebound. So, rebounding calm. Rakdos Headliner, 2 mana, 3/3. It's got Echo, discard a card, which is not a big deal in Rakdos, but it's also got haste. So this is going to be going into a deck somewhere down the line. Another Aethersworn Sphinx. It's the sketch version, but foil. It looks very nice. Blessed Respite. Shuffle graveyard in the library and prevent all combat damage. So this is a fog with a graveyard shuffle effect. I run some of those graveyard shuffle effects just to have them, but to have an attached fog at instant speed, heck yeah. Foil treasure token. Rakdos Headliner in foil. Slagwood's Bridge foil. Faithful Savaging, once again. Draw a card, discard a card. You're looting, but it's got rebound, so you can do it over again. Card selection is important. Goblin Archaeomancer in foil with the new frame. Another Aethersworn Sphinx. Mystic Redaction in foil. Foil Rustvale Bridge. Urban Daggertooth. Foil Dino. Another Zorn Orb. Got Filigree Attendant again. Zern Orb, Mystic Redaction, Squirrel Tokens, Razorvale Bridge Foil. And then for these, now that we're at the end of the commons and uncommons, we'll get to the rares here in a minute. These are kind of what I do with some of the commanders that I have. Omnath isn't like this. Omnath I had just have an irregular double sleeve. But some of my commanders, what I'll do is I'll put an outer sleeve, and let's say I will, if it was a Treefolk deck, like this will go on the back of my Treefolk commander, and then I'll put the outer sleeve over this. So you've got a double sleeve commander plus the outer sleeve in this. It makes it thick and really, I got this actually idea from Brian over at Cure for the Common Game. So yes, Brian, it's your fault. So I was able to pick up, these are from, oh, what's that set that I never ended up getting any of it, was, oh, someone's going to have to help me with that. I totally blanked on it. But I got this for my Treefolk deck, this for my Mono White Angels, this for my Dino Dana deck, and then for the Future Goblin deck. So let's get these sorted, and let's move on to some of the rares. So we've got, and yes, I will be taking the sleeves off of these as we go. So yes, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you know what? That's okay. Verdant Command, I mainly got for the first line. Choose 2. Target player creates 2 tapped 1/1 green squirrel tokens, but you can choose counter the loyalty ability of a planeswalker, exile target card from a graveyard, or target player gains 3 life. Modal cards, yes, each one of them is maybe not the best, but together they create something good. Aive, Progenitor Ooze, is going in Mimeoplasm. I got Sylvan Anthem. Green creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under your control, you scry 1. card selection is important, especially in a color like green, where you don't have a whole lot of card draw. Picked up a couple Sithis, Harvest Hand. These were the sketch versions of it for my 2 Enchantress decks. It's a green and a white. Selesnya, in other words, for a 1/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So it's not your normal Enchantress where you just draw a card. Now you're also gaining life each time you play an enchantment. Well, as you guys know, with enchantment decks, you can often play and replay enchantments often. I found a nice Ayula Queen Among the Bears foil that is going to replace the proxy that I have for Ayula in my bear deck. Lovely. I was excited about it, and it's not a Pringles chip. Riptide Laboratory. I haven't seen this in so many years. Riptide Laboratory is Wizard Tribal. Return target wizard you control to your owner's hand. So if you have come into play abilities for your wizards, which many of them do, this is an awesome inclusion. I'm glad they had a reprint because the original was getting a little expensive, at least for me. Picked up a stack of Sylvan Anthems that we already looked at earlier. Green creatures get +1/+1. When a green creature enters, you scry 1. This is going in Ayula. This is going in the Squirrel deck. This is going in my... You know what? I've got a list of my decks right over here. I might as well bring it out. This is what happens, folks, when you start doing the 32 deck challenge. You start forgetting what decks you're working on and what decks are already done. Tulane. This is going in Tulane. This is going to go into Tana. This is going to go into Zicthus. This is going to be going into and then my green decks, the Toski and Ayula. It's just an important card. Got a Chitter Splitter here for the Squirrel deck. Now I found these in the dollar box. Notice the prices there, $3 and $4. But these are the From the Vault or Secret Lair, From the Vault, whatever you want to call it, series on the Titans. And it just so happens I didn't have an Inferno or a Frost Titan for my giant deck. So I grabbed these. They look great. They're the non-foil, but I don't care. When you double sleeve, it really kills the shininess of the foils anyways. I got a Gigantosaurus 10/10 for 5 mana. That's going to be easy to do in the dinosaur deck. Got a Bloodbraid Elf. Been working on a Maelstrom Wanderer Cascade. Goes right in there. Thunderblast Elemental. Considering doing an Elemental deck. Hammerfist Giant. Hammer taps to deal 4 damage to target creature to each creature without flying in each player. This can be a nice way of getting those pesky flyers like those gnarly dragons I was dealing with the other day. You've got Shatterskull Warrior, another giant. I'm not going to read every card. I'll just stop at some of them, especially if they're kind of important. I got a Pyroworld Shaman. I noticed as I was looking at building my mono red goblin deck, I am missing a boatload of goblins for some reason. Another dinosaur. Got an Outpost Siege. I like all of the sieges. Their modal nature and the ability to choose one or the other is great. Got Slag Fiend. May or may not be going in deck. I don't know. We got Crag Edwick Cremator. Goblins. Titan of Eternal Fire, another giant. We got a Valakut Exploration. That's actually going to be going in Omnath because I have a regular version of Valakut Exploration and I like the alternate frame. Got a two-headed giant for the giant deck. Oh, put that wrong box. Lightning Crafter, another goblin. Relic Robber, that's in a hard one. Gobbo. Sunrise Sovereign, another giant I didn't have for the giant deck. Giant creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample. That's a great Lord effect for giants. Got Borderland Behemoth, Giant Warrior. It gets +4/+4 for each other giant you control. So this can become gigantic. But yeah, I know, bad. Dad jokes. Thalia's Lancers going in my night deck. Picked up a card I haven't seen in a long time. Sacred Guide, all the way back from Tempest. 1 mana, 1/1 cleric. Sacrifice it. Pay 2 mana, sack. Reveal cards in your library until you reveal a white card. Put that card in your hand. Remove all other revealed cards from the game. Well, I already want to sack clerics in my cleric deck. It's going to be very much, I'm cannibalizing my Ailey deck and turning it into, if I remember it, did I write it down? Virja, the new Boros colored angel, and so that's going in there. Let's put that in white. 100-headed one, giant. Priest of the Waking Sun is going in dinos. Yes, it's cleric, but it goes in the dinos. Bishop of Rebirth, we've got a vampire. Mentor of the Meek. I can't believe that this was in the cheap rare box. Card draw in white. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. Okay. And a soldier deck, you've got lots of tokens. You pay 1 extra mana for those tokens, you'll be drawing cards. Bedelish Commander, once again for the soldier deck. Ethereal Armor for the Enchantress decks. I love the... Now, this is Time Spiral Remastered. Old frame. 1 mana aura. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. Can't beat that for 1 mana in an Enchantress deck. You just can't. You get Bishop of Binding. Vampire. Indomitable Archangel. Goes with my angels. Lena, Selfless Champion, Human Knight, but it's actually going to be going in my soldier deck. Happily Ever After. Now this is kind of a key card, and there's a 2 Charming Princes. Happily Ever After is going in my Shrine Tribal deck / Enchantress deck. Since shrines are enchantments. When Happily Ever After enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. That's the downside. Now, at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents you control, there are 6 more card types among permanents you control, and or cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game. This is a win condition for Shrine Tribal. That's just where it's going. We're about halfway through the rares, guys. If you guys have stuck with me this entire time, thank you. My goodness, it must be annoying listening to me for, I don't know, how long have we been up? 20 minutes so far. So we got a few precinct captains. There's actually one of those that's foil. It's kind of a really faded or muted foil, but hey, that will work. I'm not complaining. Citadel Siege. Once again, like I said, I like the Siege. We got a Palisade Giant. Oh, come on. I hate it when these cheap, these are in like penny sleeves, and they just stick together. All damage that would be dealt to you or another permanent you control is dealt to Palisade Giant instead. There's some great auras that you can put on here to either prevent the damage, redirect the damage, gain life, all kinds of shenanigans you can do with that one. We've got a Sun Cleanser, another Cleric for the Cleric deck. Soul Warden, I was out of them. It just seems like a white staple, especially if you want to gain life. Whenever another creature, including your opponent's, comes into play, you gain 1 life. Deathgore Scavenger, Dino. We've got Gorm the Great, Giant. Card draw in green in Shamanic Revelation. We've got Mystic, I can't remember the name. This is a foreign edition. It looks like Italian. Basically, it's a mana dork. 2 mana, 2/1 for Sultai colors. Doesn't hurt to have mana dorks in Sultai. Uvenwald Observer, another tree folk. Deep Root Champion for my merfolk. Heartward Storyteller. This is great for a tree folk deck. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. So this punishes people for being spell slingers. Felonite Hermit. I am working on a Saproling deck. I think the commander is going to be Tana, but not entirely sure. It could be one of the Nephilim. So that has been in progress. Toonvale Treefolk in the alternate frame. Nylea's Intervention. Great. Once again, choose one of those X and you pay the X. It works. Saw this and maybe one of those cards I totally missed in what was that, Dragon's Maze? Choose one or more. Key phrase there. Clan Defiance deals X damage to target creature with flying. Clan Defiance deals X damage to target creature without flying, and or Clan Defiance deals X damage to target player. So either wipe the board on the ground, wipe the board in the sky, and X damage to target player. This great option in Gruul. Grand Warlord Ratha, Elf Warrior, 4 mana, 3/4 haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, you add that much mana in any combination of green or red. This is ramp for an attacky deck. Definitely going in Gruul. Picked up an old frame Time Spiral Remastered Mortify. And they had a bunch of temples in the bargain bin box for rares. Here's 4 Temple of Maladies. I was totally out of temples. I had zip, 0, nada. We got a Llanowar Wastes. We've got a gaggle of Temple of Silence. We got 4 here. We got a Temple of Plenty. We got Ruins of Oran Reef for the Eldrazi deck. Also, there was 2 Irrigated Farmlands. Once again, I have been putting more fetches into my decks, and I want fetchable targets, such as these lands from Amonkhet. Yes, they enter into play tapped, but you have the ability of fetching them, plus you can cycle them. It's great. You got Bloodhall Priest for vampires. Temple of Abandon, 1 copy. Got a Dream Trawler. Now we have the other Rada. Hair to Keld, if I can talk. 2 mana, 2/2. Whenever it attacks, you add 2 mana to your mana pool, and it's a mana dork. Got a Corrupted Crossroads. This is also going to be going into my Eldrazi deck. My big question when I came across this, I had totally missed out on this entire block, is since this produces colorless mana, why wasn't it in the colorless frame versus normally when you see lands with this frame, they are normally producing multiple color, any color. Yes, you can produce 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, but you can only play cards with the void versus, I don't know. Temple of Mystery. Got a Yama via Coast. Yes, I like Pain Lands. Awakened Amalgam. This is probably going into my Omnath deck. 4 mana, Star. Power and toughness equal to the number of differently named lands you control. Well, in my Omnath deck, it's predominantly non-basics. So they're each going to have a different name. So Awakened Amalgam can get huge. Got a Blight Herder for my Eldrazi deck. In fact, I'll put it back there with the Eldrazi. I got Temple of Epiphany. As a side note, in my new Shrine deck, I'm also going to be doing the Plaza Gate WinCon with the other gate. If you have 10 or more gates, you win the game. So this is going to be going in that Shrine Tribal deck. I got a Temple of Triumph. That temple stack's getting big. Got a Goblin Charbelcher. Dramatic Finale. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1. It's nice and shiny. Brian's Raccoon Eyes are going off like crazy. Whenever one or more non-token creatures you control dies, you get a 2/1 Inkling creature into play with flying. Only triggers once a turn. Well, in Ailey or any of my other decks in which I am sacking some of my non-token creatures, I get added bonus. Then you get the Enters in Battlefield triggers. Then you have more sacrifice fodder. And it's nice and foily. Yes, it is a little pringly. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but yeah, it's got a little Pringles to it. Eternal Scourge. Eldrazi. There were a couple talismans in the bargain box, which I was like, anytime you can get a talisman for bargain price, you grab them. The talismans are great. 2 mana, 2 to 3 color deck mana fixing. It's great. And last but not least, I got a Mystic Snake. Also was out of those. I had like 3 or 4 Mystic Snakes, but I don't know where they went. I know they're in a couple decks, but Mystic Snake's going to be going in my Snake deck. With that, you guys can see that was the card sorting for today. Looking forward to taking some time today, having a cup of coffee, listening to some music, and finishing decks, like putting the cards into Omnath, or I'm rebuilding Tulane with some of the new cards that have come in. Looking forward to having fun with that. I'm also finishing up a Vagroth Bloodsky Sire Demon deck, Mono Black Demons. Stay tuned in the channel. In the coming week or so, I'll be doing deck techs probably about once a day, in which taking a deck like Omnath or the going back to a EULA after I make some changes, or Chatterstorm, or whatever it may be, and doing a deck tech for each of them. With that, hopefully you guys click that like button, click subscribe, comment on the videos. Make sure you check out some of our friends, such as Cure for the Common Game, and Brian Canada over there. And with that, this was StewieMTG. Thanks for joining me for the last 25 minutes. I'll catch you guys later.